going to bring the February 11th Dunbarton Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Full board present, all three selectmen, the town administrator, and Leo Martell is taping to the benefit of the public, and Linda Nickerson will upload that. Old business, gentlemen, we have some meeting minutes from February 4th.
Motion to approve the regular minutes of the February 4th meeting as amended.
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your corrections on that, Lean. Okay. Gonna open up for quick public comment, see if we have anything here. Nothing at this time in the meeting. Okay. Getting on to our agenda tonight, the first thing on the agenda is an update of Old Route 13. Lee has had some conversations with the two attorneys that are representing the landowners on that Old Route 13 section. They have decided to come to next week's meeting, February 25th. We told them that we are gonna hold a public meeting on it. So one of
After next week.
Oh, week after next?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And, so that's the date that both attorneys could make it, and we thought it would be more complete if they were, at least had the ability to come to the meeting. I had seen in our, notice there that there was a statement from one of the attorneys that said that the shed was protecting the well. So I asked Lean to reach out and see if the well was in the right of way. We did get a response back, I think, from the police chief that said that he thinks that the well is inside that shed. So, I'd just like to know before we make any decisions about the shed, to know where that well is, just in case that is within the right of way as well, so. We've reached out to him, and hopefully we hear about that. And I think that's all I had. Do you have any other updates on that, Lane?
No.
Okay. And Jeff did call me, or I talked to him last week, and he said the information he has is the same information we already have from the attorneys.
Thank you for checking.
Okay. We have a couple of checks to receive here from Health Trust, our wellness coordinator, and the amount of $500. We have two of them.
I'll make a motion for RSA 31:95-B, subparagraph Roman numeral 3B, to accept the unanticipated revenue from the Health Trust for the Wellness Coordinator in an amount of $500 each, for a total of $1,000.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that for unanticipated revenue?
It is, but the purpose of the receiving the money is so that that wellness coordinator, and this year we have two, Donna volunteered to represent the town, so she will, coordinate things that would involve all of the departments. And then Chris has been the coordinator for the police department itself, and that money allows us to either, give information to the employees, have some kind of a healthy event for them to participate in, and or a number of different things, and that's the whole purpose of.
It's geared towards the health trust, so it's really not an unanticipated, because if it's unanticipated revenues, the direction dedicated to the health trust program, correct?
Correct.
Like they could buy healthy stuff and give it out at a meeting with all the
Correct, yeah,
employees.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Like donuts.
That's a red wine. Might need it at the end of the day.
Okay, the next thing, I don't see Chris here yet, but, we had an email this week from the police chief, Dan Scuttle, in reference to, moving Brian Tyler into the on-call stipend. And part of this was a process, I think, that would have happened towards the end of this year anyway, as you guys could see my email.
He chatted with me on that. I asked him to put it in an email.
Yep.
He's gonna be out of the network a little bit,
Right.
and he wanted to make sure that he had appropriate coverage for the town.
Yep.
And I thought it was appropriate. I said for accounting purposes, it should be on an audit trail.
To me, it looks prudent, his decision, and, I told him so, and, you know, at the end of the year, when his term is up, it may be something that was gonna be considered anyway, so I think to do it now is timely thing to get done, so.
Good.
You okay with that, Bob?
By consensus, yes.
Okay.
So I'll let Chris know that.
Yep.
We're going
We've got a notice in here about parking on Ray Road and Mansion Road. I'm glad to see the road agent just showed up, and Jeff Crosby's in the meeting. It looks like there's been some OHRV parking on the section of Ray and Mansion Road between the entrance of the OHRP park and Winslow Road. It looks like he's the trail master for the Where Winter Wanders, and he's afraid that they're gonna block the snow trail groomer. The OHRV parking area is closed, this section is narrow. It's his opinion that nobody should be parking that section of road, particularly with trailers. We posted that section with temporary signs, no parking. There was also some mention about the right-hand southbound side of the bridge is not supposed to be plowed, I assumed for snowmobile traffic. I remember Jeff talking about someone putting snow on the bridge last year, and he was not too happy about it. This may be the source, just a heads up. So, this was from the police chief, and I want to just hear from you, Jeff. I didn't really realize that they were putting snow on the bridge to cross.
Yeah, I'm a little confused, because I'm reading emails a little different than what you just read.
Oh, really? What do you
Mine
have?
says Ralph Folbaum complained regarding the vehicles, nothing about the Where Winter Wanderers.
Well, if you look, down there further, will block his snow trail groomer. I only know because they came to me to purchase a
Yeah, I
bridge,
don't
so.
Do you
have
have,
that, I don't,
is it, do you have one from Ralph Feldbaum? Is that the one that you're reading? Is
I'm reading one
Ralph
from from Jan's code for chief.
it doesn't make any difference what we read. I just didn't see anything about the Where Winter Wanderers on it. I don't know why they don't let them park in there.
You mean in the designated
Yeah,
parking
They
area?
have a parking area, and the people pay registration fees and everything to use that area, but for some reason I was told it was closed this year. But there's a main trail that comes through Old Route 77, and the Ware grooming machine comes up and continues out to the Dunbarton store. Last year, when we got a couple snowstorms, what they do is what they were doing last year is they would take the snowbank and run over it with their machine and drag it out into the bridge and pack it down for the snowmobiles to run. So I had to go down with a backhoe a couple times, but it was all hard packed, and get rid of it. So I called the police one day, and he came down and he took pictures of it and everything else, and then we didn't have any more snow. So earlier this year, I reached out to a gal who, I can't even remember her name now, it's got something to do with trails, and I explained my concern to him. I said, we can't have that. We spent $300,000 for a bridge, and we didn't build it so the snowmobiles could use it. They got all kinds of trails around there.
Was it somebody at the state, Jeff, or?
Yes, this gal was at the state, and she's kinda acknowledged that was right, and there wouldn't be a problem. They've been driving across it this year, but they haven't been putting any snow in it.
Which is good.
Okay,
So, I
so
mean-
he was speaking of previous years here, I think.
Yeah, so that was last year. This year, obviously, we hadn't had much snow for people to use again, but we just recently started doing it. And I can see where they drive out, and then they drive up on the snowbank and they go around. Part of me, it doesn't really affect us, as long as they're not putting snow on the road and causes a problem. I think it could be a bit of a traffic hazard, mixing that groomer, snowmobiles with two-way traffic on a class 5 road. I don't necessarily think that's the biggest thing. They have a complete trail system all the way through there.
I
I
think
don't
they're
know
just
why
trying to
they
connect.
can't use their trail system to
Are
get
they
around.
just trying to connect to gas?
Yes, they're trying to connect that.
Is that the only way over the water, I guess?
No, they have bridges out there and everything else.
Yeah, but none coming this way, right, to the gas?
Yeah, there's a bridge out there.
There it is.
But for some reason, they don't use it, and I don't know anything about the fine tunings of it. I just heard that the trails were closed for some reason. So,
But you can't, would it make a safety hazard for a vehicle track?
I think it is, but I'm not the chief of police, I'm not a policeman, I haven't seen anybody, but yeah, wouldn't you think? I mean, it's a bridge, you get cars coming both directions, I don't know when they do their grooming, probably later in the day. I haven't seen any snowmobiles parked there. Honestly, I've been going down there and after it snows with one of our town plow trucks, and I plow a little push-off area because there's been a great number of people walking down there this summer. Just to give them a place to park their car so they go walking and snowshoeing, and they've been using it, but I've never seen snowmobile trailers or anything else.
What does Ralph's complaint think?
It looks
This is
like-
an issue, but
It looks like he was, the OHEV, or OHRV park is closed, as Jeff is saying. Did they plow it, Jeff? I was trying to ask.
No.
So it's not plowed.
You don't plow?
The state has done this in several other areas that I've heard. Areas that they plowed regularly, they're not plowing this year. And other snowmobile clubs and stuff are taking up some of this plowing through the state. I think it's one of these things the state was doing for free and they no longer want to do it. Maybe DOT was doing it. But you gotta understand, Dred's one department, and then DOT's another department, and they were helping each other, and maybe there's some separation now that they don't wanna help each other, so.
And, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I don't know the inner workings of it.
I have heard of this in other areas already.
okay,
in the
but
state.
Ralph's issue is that park, too many people parking on the side of the road, or?
Yeah, he didn't wanna park in there, cause he's afraid that they're gonna park right where he crosses the trail, which I think he crosses.
Oh, that's what he's getting at?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what
okay.
he's getting at here. He doesn't want the groomer to be blocked by the parking,
Oh, so he does the grooming?
yeah.
Ah,
And we don't have a snowmobile club in the town of Dunbarton, so where Winter Wanderers does that section, and the Bow does this section coming down through
But
here.
then, on the other side of going, I don't know why they have to run the groomer across the bridge, why can't they go through the trails in the woods?
I don't know the size groomer they're coming with there, Jeff.
I don't
think it's a
know,
big
I
enough
don't know
bridge.
enough, I
That's a
don't know
big-
enough about it. But,
Well, that shouldn't be the public's problem.
not really, I agree with you.
I didn't know how long they had been
The
doing it.
whole system is got some flaws in it right now, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you notice on the trees, there's a sign placard that says these trails are maintained by money from registrations and whatever, so they're getting the money, but they're not doing, for some reason, they've decided not to do it. I don't know if it's COVID related or what the deal is.
So do we wanna kinda table this and see if it gets worse, or do you guys wanna make some action?
I don't think they should park on the road, and I went to the dump Wednesday, and there were, the police, I believe the Dunbarton police, because I've seen the same signs out here, no parking police notice or something like that on grade stakes in the snow. So, they.
Oh, it looks like, so the police are posting it, no parking.
Yes, they put some cardboard signs up there saying that.
Wouldn't that usually be you, does it, as the road agent? No.
Oh, they get something about temporary police order, no parking.
Well, it sounds like they put signs up. so
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
see
they're
if it
trying,
gets any
so-
worse.
Yeah, you monitor,
So we'll just, table it for now.
well, monitor. If
So,
there's
I
any
think
issue,
action
I think
from
it-
Ralph, a response to him, that you acknowledged it, or
I think if we can just send Ralph back an email and say that, we're gonna monitor and see how the signs work that the police department has put up, the temporary no parking signs.
Maybe if they have the signs up there and people park it, then they can ticket it. To get their attention, or you can have me go up with a loader and I'll just push the cars and stuff out of it. You just tell me what you want me to do.
You look like-
Tell me what you want me to
I
do.
like that one.
I like a person with ideas.
Some people don't have, can't take a hint.
Years ago, I mean, I'm sure you don't care about the history lesson, but it was a huge problem, because there was they didn't do any plowing out there.
Yeah.
And when snowmobiling was really hot around here, I'm talking probably 25 or 30 years ago, they used to park on that road a lot, and we couldn't get through there to plow or whatever. So we started plowing out toward that parking area to give, the town was just doing it on their own, just to get the people off the road. So, and then the trail system, and it got more popular and it got enhanced through the state, and they turned it into the all-around, the OHV for all the vehicles. And again, they've been maintaining it, plowing it for years, and for some reason this year they're not doing it.
Lee, can we do one thing? Can we contact Dred this week? DRED, they're the ones that control the trails out there. And let's just see if we can get somebody to respond to us on why that's not plowed and why they're not providing a parking area for people on that part this winter, so at least we'll have something to
And
get back.
I will also allude to the fact that it was potentially making a dangerous situation on one of our class 5 roads.
and that's an OHRV park, right?
That's right.
Okay.
It I would allude to the fact that we're concerned about a safety, concern arising from it.
And if you reference it, you know, the, Clough Park,
Is that what it is?
OHRB, yeah,
Okay.
the Elmo Park.
Right in front of my house, all the way down
Yeah.
the road, at one time.
I know Dred is the responsible party for that, so.
Right,
You know, the solution is what I think Jeff alluded to, they just plow and make a nice parking lot, let people go out there and park, end of subject.
Something happened within the state where.
Yeah, exactly.
DOT and Dred
There's some,
are not working together anymore, cause up north, I've heard of the same thing happening, and now the townspeople and some of the snowmobile clubs are plowing them with groomers, is what they're actually doing now.
well, this whole deal is, the state reimburses the snowmobile clubs for grooming the trails, they get dollars for doing that. It all comes with a registration and what have you. So, they're all kind of connected here and they work together, but.
Well, they had,
Yeah, I don't know.
Something's going
and
on.
Like I heard, the trails are closed, but this is just the main corridor that goes from where to, actually ends up on the Kilburn Bone,
right,
and they can get the following, so. And it could be just this Ware Winter or Wander group has taken upon themselves to maintain that main trail.
right.
And
The same as the Bow Club does this
Yes,
section up to
exactly.
that same gas
they-
station.
And it is a problem if they park in the road, yes.
We are getting less snow here, so it's becoming less and less.
I
an issue.
personally have not seen anybody park in the road this year, but I'm not saying no.
Okay. Going on from that one, the next time here, we got a couple of different things for you. Jeff, we've got town road plowing, we've got New Hampshire Clean Diesel Grant Program, which, as I think you stated already before, we have to rent new vehicles now, so it might not really help you much.
Yeah, we're not gonna, we just bought a brand new truck.
What I was thinking about that, the reason I sent it to you to print out was, it also stated fire trucks on there, so I thought to send it to John Wigan only, cause if they've got $500,000 worth of grant there, he might be able to obtain some grant for his new fire truck.
So, we got information on this a year or so ago.
Yeah.
It was a biodiesel program,
Right.
which you were gonna have to get involved with, which,
But you know, like he's updating a very old diesel fire engine,
Yeah.
going to a newer one, they may provide him some grant, so that's why I printed that, cause I saw fire trucks. I knew your department was already updated,
Yeah,
so,
well,
and it didn't fit in our program.
no.
Recall that.
We have a complaint here from Mike Guiney about plowing Kelsey Road. Did you get a copy of it?
Nope.
Lean, you wanna make Jeff a copy so he can read this?
Is that a new one,
This was sent to us on February 2nd.
or? Oh, that was a while ago.
And there's a couple others that he wanted us to respond, I guess, in writing to, so we might have to do that this week. So he's asking for a formal, response from the selectman / road agent on Kelsey Road, so I think we should formulate a letter back to him this week that we can email back out to him. The first thing he wants to know is why I'm plowing the town road again. What does the road agent justify that the town's hiring Knoll to plow 1/3 of a mile of Kelsey Road, when the other 64 2/3 miles of roads are divided into routes and assigned to other drivers, of routes being paid hourly? What is the road agent's reason for deviating from the town of Dunbarton, New Hampshire standard operating procedures, snowplow removal and ice control? What makes Kelsey Road require special treatment? Why didn't the town of Dunbarton provide timely, efficient, cost-effective winter maintenance, snow removal and ice control for safety and benefit of residents of Kelsey Road and the general motoring public? Why haven't I received an answer to my snow plowing email January 3rd, 21st, 15th, and January 21? Why haven't I received an answer to my 6x6 broken post of April 29th of April, I think 2020?
Yep.
in my follow-up of 15 January 21, inquires as to when the town is going to replace the post it broke on my property in 2018. I don't believe I'm being unreasonable when saying I required written answers to my questions at the end of the month. I think when it comes to the post, we chose not to replace the post at one time, and then we had a subsequent meeting, Bob, where you requested that we replace it, and you two voted to replace that post, so
Replace it with the one
just give him one back.
in time, we're not gonna erect it.
Right, and so I think that we did have that meeting, so we
But
can
things
answer
at the
that.
same time though, at the same time, you said damage to private property, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
It's like we don't replace mailboxes either.
Right, you guys have a copy of that?
Right, on the public right of way.
Yeah. Isn't held responsible for, it says, it should be noted that the municipality isn't held responsible for damage to private property that is located within the public right of way. The right of way is often 50 feet wide and is often confused by the property owners as their own property. In most cases, the right of way extends 10 to 20 feet either side of the paved or gravel road. Homeowners often cultivate extensions of their lawn, place mailbox, erect fences, or stone walls in these areas, which improves appearance of the street greatly, but is obstructive to good maintenance from the being conducted on the roadway.
And at the time, that was considered, it was unknown, we was trying to make a determination of that town property was right away or not, is that a road by description, we weren't really sure.
We still aren't sure.
Right, and so, based upon that, you know, I believe that the fact we didn't replace a single post, because one was basically damaged in a plowing operation, such as life, like, somebody wrecked Bob's mailbox a couple of years ago, did he get a new mailbox out of it? No, he get a sorry, but we didn't mean it intentionally.
We do have another mailbox on here from, tonight to add to it from Flintlock Farms.
Yeah, I saw that.
But if we start replacing the posts singly, then we're gonna have to start replacing mailboxes, we're gonna set a precedent, which is a bad precedent to be setting, because you can't hold, plow drivers responsible for inadvertent damage, which is not malicious, it's just that as a victim of this, of snow plowing. Bob, I'd like to have your thoughts on that. Since you've been a victim.
Yeah, well, I was a victim because mine was right near the road, and when they're widening the bank, it must have caught enough snow that all it did is break the post.
Yeah.
It was broken into snow. I just changed it in the spring. I took it out and put a new one up, you know.
Which is what most people do in town.
Which it's happened twice now, in 39 years, twice in the last couple of years. But it's one of those things is, you're getting more roads in town, you're getting guys that wanna get plowed. Weather's bad, so, you know, you kinda accept it, and knowing the policy, when I brought this up with Bob Boynton a couple of years ago, you know, found out what the policy is, if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Yeah. And not for nothing, but different people put them out further, some people put them back, some people put them on big chains so they can swing, so. There's a lot of different mailbox type things in here, and
Well, do you think we're doing something wrong? If we replace this post, I think we're setting a bad precedent.
Can I say something?
Please.
There is a little difference here. I think it's petty, but as we found out, I guess that's easement, it's not town.
but we haven't found that out, they made no determination.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know where we're at with that, so it's a little different than the clear town right away thing. At this point, we're not sure where that is,
We're having that survey done, but
yeah.
we did
exactly.
we did have a thing where we agreed to buy one of them posts last year.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I got, from the highway department point of view, I've got no problem with it. I'm not interested in going down and putting it in, and I actually refuse to, and I refuse to send anybody over from the highway department
Agreed.
to
But
do that. But if you want me to get one, I'll get one and drop it off.
what's the consensus of the board, Dave?
You know, I mean, it's up to you
That
guys.
motion was already made last year by you two, so I think, you know, if you wanna do that, I'm fine with it.
I do think, I agree with you, the precedent thing, but it's totally, this is a little
Unique
different.
circumstances.
It's a little different than the mailbox thing.
Please, if you would procure one.
Yeah.
Bob's amenable to that.
Yep.
And give the bill to Lean that comes out of the maintenance line.
Whatever, yeah, I mean,
I gotta think, maybe have a different way of thinking about it. Instead of going there and providing the post, why don't we just, send them a check for the dollar amount of the post, and that way you're not.
Yeah,
You know,
that's fine.
you may want, and again, because
It's a little clean air, we're just
we're in a
saying.
gray area too,
We-
because, there's a decision there that it is his land, till we can prove it isn't his land.
Yeah.
So why don't you find out what it would cost his time, because it doesn't take long with a post hole digger. I know I've done that with the mailboxes, you know, but,
I think just the post is fine.
you
Well,
just,
there's been no decision as his land, they made no decision as to the location of Kelsey Road. They didn't make a decision that it was his land, so that's why we're having the survey done, so we know where Kelsey Road is, because right now we don't really know.
But just to close, agree, but I think just to close this out, let's put it to bed and get it done with.
Right.
And so,
We did it last year.
let's,
you know?
but I like that, a check, we just have, Joe Marie find out how much it costs at Lowe's, or Home Depot, for a post, a 4x4 by 8 foot post.
It says 6 by 6.
6
Yeah,
by
it
6,
is a 6
okay,
by
I
6.
stand corrected, and kind of a check, was that consensus?
I just thought that would be better than sending
Yes.
Jeff down there with a
Yeah.
post and dropping it off. You know, if you put it in the wrong spot, we're gonna be liable if you know. It just.
I'll end up with a release report the week after.
Right, so I think we send a check and avoid a lot of issues. You know,
Well, that's one of the, let's go through some more, Dave, if you would.
okay. All right, get me on that one here.
Agreed, Deb, Bob, you agree with that?
send them a check for
Yes.
the money, yeah.
Yep.
But again, I probably would have, just to clear the air and have it settled,
Yeah.
just pay him the amount of time it would take him to put the post in, which is probably a couple hours in the post, and be done with it, and settle it, so that we don't have to hear it over and over again. If it doesn't come out our way, we're gonna hear about it again, so.
Well, Bob, there's another paragraph about. Oh, that's placing snow on the streets. Yeah, that's nothing to do with it.
Okay,
I just don't know if we wanna get into paying somebody the labor to replace it.
No,
I think the post itself is enough, you know, the labor end of it, you know, who's to say what dollar amount is okay for the labor? You know, it's just, I think we just pay for the post and get that part of it done, that's what you guys agreed to in your last selectmen's meeting that you had on it.
You know, the post isn't gonna be a lot of money, $20, maybe, the most.
You'd be surprised nowadays, they're up pretty high, it might have been $20 last year.
And you give the guy $50 to put the post in, and hopefully that's the end of the story, because, again, we're waiting for a decision one way or the other, so.
Yeah, well, I don't, just my thought, you can never put a labor number on it, because you don't know what's fair, so.
well, a post and 2 bags of Quick Creek,
No, just a post.
just a post,
There's no post.
no Quick Creek, that's how I put the post.
All right, going on, I guess, Jeff, why don't you give some discussion on how you're handling the plowing of the roads? I know you're down one driver right now.
Nothing's changed. I feel this is just a form of harassment. Directed toward Dave Knoll and myself, actually. I have do not escape it. Planning board meeting, we had a conceptual planning board meeting, which was, some people were in person, some people were Zoom. I was a victim of innuendos and harassment there. And, a lot of this information he put down here on this sheet of paper is incorrect. Once again, I don't know where he gets it. It's right out of the gate, we don't maintain 64 2/3 miles of town roads. So I think he's just grasping at straws to harass people. Dave is hired to do this, he's not doing it for free. We've come up with a program that works pretty good. It's both cost-effective and timely. We cannot turn our large truck around down there anymore because he came out and yelled at Peter Gamache, employee this year, about basically what I got out of it is backing into the known easement that Dave Knoll uses and other people to get to Dave's property. So we're forced to make other arrangements. What we used to do was Dave would plow the road, open it up with a smaller truck, and then we would come back with the larger truck. A lot of times during the storm, after Pete had made his initial pass around the main roads, if that needed some attention, he would do it. But those days are gone because of the incident with him coming out and yelling at him. Because it's my understanding that he's got some other underlying issues with, violence. So, I mean, I'm not gonna put one of our employees in that category. I don't think that's good, and, everybody has a job, and that's the job we hired Dave to do. I think it works very well, very efficiently. As Dave said, we're down a driver anyway, we don't have
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
anybody to shoot way over there to do
I just
that.
wanna make sure in the future that if Dave's gonna be out of town, that he communicates that to you.
Yeah, we had a little lack of communication earlier in the year, but we've had some pretty big storms. These 2-inch storms are horrendous for getting around, you know?
Understood, okay.
I mean, no, what I mean is,
I think that's just a reasonable expectation,
Yeah,
and
it's-
thing is,
we maintain it the same way, we sand it when it's slippery and all that. Again, I think the key thing here is this is just a form of harassment. And I ask, are we gonna do anything about that, or are we just gonna continue to swallow it? I mean, I think it gets to the point where it's just
well, I
ridiculous.
think,
I know he's a town
No,
resident, but
what
it's
we're gonna-
just,
I think one thing I wanna see before we make any judgments on this is the, an independent survey which we have commissioned, and I wanna see the results of that, and which way the road goes and all that kind of stuff, because
yeah,
I'll give you one example, which I find upsetting, and Dave, I don't know, you may not agree with me, but, here we are, we thought the turnaround in front of the barn was gonna be used, and then it was turned around as it was his property, so be it. Then, Mr. Guiney comes in with a subdivision plan, and he has this road going off to the, to Goffstown,
you know, left.
to the left. But we know, he had to create agreement for us to use that in the past, because it was never considered a road, it was considered
Yeah.
private property, so he's trying to have it both ways for a subdivision and to basically harass us in plowing, so I'm a little confused here, and
Yeah, me as well.
and so, at this point, I wanna see what our independent survey comes, and I think we're following what the Supreme Court said. They basically kicked it back down and said, start over again, and that's what the town is doing. And, based upon what the results of the independent survey are, we can make a decision of which way we're gonna have a turnaround, whatever. And a lot of it's gonna be some goodwill, it's gonna have to be generated by Mr. Guiney, and I'm looking forward to some goodwill, because he wants him to subdivide his land, and I'm all in favor of him doing that. But he's gotta be held to the same standards of any other citizen in town.
Well, that was gonna be my next subject. Some of this stuff that we're talking about is gonna be at some level, and I'm just one member on the planning board, but from the highway department part, it's gonna be one of my recommendations to the board, and they're pretty receptive about things. And some of this stuff is gonna go away as far as the turning around and being able to access it with a larger truck and all that,
As he develops.
as he develops the property. So, again, I think a bit of this is just a form of harassment.
Just that, of the last 2 times, technically, he has a legitimate complaint. The one time I met you at the yard
Yes.
was early,
Yes.
4:30
Yep.
in the morning, to let you know that he had called my house.
Yep.
And fortunately, I didn't get to the phone in time, so, and he was pretty upset with the message he left. The second time, I was right there, I answered the phone, I talked to him, he was very civil. It was a matter that it didn't get plowed on Friday, but now Saturday, it was packed down, it was slippery. Now, again, maybe reaching, because I think some people would have tolerated it a little bit and then got a hold of somebody and made sure that they knew that, it wasn't quite passable. But at the same time, here's 2 instances where, you had a direct impact.
Well, and we've got to complain about something, where the snow was plowed, how it was plowed.
Well,
when
I
it was
understand
plowed.
that with these two,
Every
with
single
these 2
storm.
times, there were legitimate complaints. So, I mean, that's what we're trying to address.
Yeah.
So, if the road gets plowed, if he can't plow it, I mean, John Wiggins or somebody with a smaller truck probably is a good.
Well, that's the other thing, it works, the best schedule is to have Dave do it, because John Wigan has a small truck, yes, but his priority is the school. And doing all the school, so the level of, he's thinking we should get someone else to do it, the level of service would go down for him, actually.
Well, I understand that, there's gonna be a time where Dave, if Dave isn't there,
Yeah,
You know, it's not chained to his house.
No,
You
exactly.
know, and you never know when the weather's gonna change.
Yep.
So if something's gonna happen,
Yep.
at least it gets addressed,
We'll try harder.
you know.
Well, I just wanna salute the road agent, because when I talked to him, the same issue that, I brought up, very responsive, he acknowledged that he missed the Saturday, he immediately took corrective action when notified of it, sanded that area, so I salute you for doing your work.
Well, you did the
I mean,
same
it's the
thing.
best we can do. That's all
You
I
did
can
the
say.
same thing when I got him, and I actually waited a while before I got a hold of some, the normal time, and it got taken care of, but it's just that, so if somebody has unfounded complaints that, they bring to us, and we find that, geez, yeah, these are occurring.
Have we gotten complaints on the last 3 snowstorms?
There's two,
Nothing,
no,
I
not-
haven't heard anything from these last
Okay.
ones.
I was just wondering, because the police were down there the other day, and, you know, he was holding up something, like an iPad, but I don't know what it was about, to be honest with you, I don't know what it was about. I just wanted to hear if you guys.
No, I didn't hear anything from you this time around.
You know, and I'm trying to do this to help Jeff out, he's got people all over town, as you guys know, we're down 1 plow truck driver. Can't go in there with our bigger truck anymore, because Mr. Guiney has complained directly in a confrontational way to our truck driver.
Well, you can't have that in the cruisers.
Yeah, and so he's refused to go down there anymore, and I don't blame him, and, you know, some of these people in town, I don't know if we wanna put them down there, because there's gonna be a direct conflict, you know. So Jeff has thought this all through, I've agreed to help him out through this season, to make sure that it gets plowed early, and if I'm out of town, I'll let Jeff know, and,
Oh, and the thing is, I like to piggyback on what Jeff said. You know, once a subdivision gets approved, one of the provisions that the planning board is looking very seriously at is that there's gonna be accommodations for the maintenance, snow maintenance of the road.
his hands are somewhat tied, so we always point back to him, but he's left down there in a situation at the end of that road where he can't do
Right,
anything
but
else.
if there's any subdivision that Mike wants to pursue, that's gonna have to be addressed, and the thing is, planning board is fully aware of it, as they've done with other subdivisions across town,
I mean,
not just him.
I don't know how many, so we've had 10, we've had complaints on 7 of them, you know?
But again, if it's gonna stay the same,
Yep.
when you can't be there, somebody has to address that, and that's all I'm concerned with, is somebody has to step in
Yeah.
and take care of it, because,
Yeah, when I go out
and
of
we
town, I'll
can't
let
keep
Jeff
getting
know.
calls at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
But I think,
So you're getting harassed then, is what you're telling me.
What's that?
You're getting harassed.
I'm getting harassed because.
So you're getting harassed, so
nothing's
now
done.
you're telling me I gotta do this?
No, what I'm telling you is, it has to be.
Do my job, that's what.
There has to be a solution to the problem.
I think since that phone call, since we really haven't had any phone calls recently, in the last 3 little,
Right.
so something must be happening in the right direction, too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, can we all set with that one?
I think so.
Yeah, so then, the last one we have, I think, Jeff, is the, again, it's gonna be just the mailbox, I think, on Flintlock Farms, but I
If
think
you have the thing about the mailboxes,
We do, we
I'm
just-
sorry when it happens. And it's gonna happen.
we actually just read it, so I think we'll respond by an email link to her.
Can I wanna say something for the
Oh,
record
sure.
right now. I'm sorry it happens. None of this is the end of the world.
Right.
You're talking of a game of inches, when you're out there with a plow truck pushing snow back.
Trying to get it as wide as you
And
can.
you can't, sometimes the visibility isn't good, there's a lot of conditions. And if you're 2 inches too far over and you clip that mailbox, it's gone. A lot of people don't do anything to help themselves. They seem to think that putting the mailbox right on the edge of the pavement's the way to fly, because then the snowplow will clean the snow out in front of it, and I don't have to do it. Because of that, you're at risk. My suggestion is, I will work with you and help you find a place that's better for your mailbox where it might not get hit again. And my first recommendation would be to move it off the edge of the road.
Right.
I mean, it just makes common sense. We have to push the snow back off the road, we gotta clear the road. I don't know what to tell you other than that. It's not like we ride around and hit them on purpose and say we're gonna do it, but
The
a
condition,
lot of these complaints, if you rode around and looked when the snow's on the road and see these people that are complaining, it's like, it's right there.
Well, the other thing too is when you're pushing the banks back,
Yeah.
the condition of the snow, the snow's chunky, and you're moving
Sometimes
something.
it's-
Sometimes it's just the snow does it, you don't even touch it.
Yeah, the truck doesn't come in contact with the plow, it's just heavy, wet snow, whatever. So, I mean, it's
It's the nature of doing the business.
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, like I said, but, I mean, at some point.
Lean, do you
it's-
think you could, send Sander an email of that paragraph? Copy and paste that paragraph out of here, yep, perfect.
This is the RSA,
And the reason,
the property here, but he's offered for her to contact him and meet with him
For placement of,
Okay.
for the
Possibly
proper
find a
replacement, better
reasonable
replacement.
location for
That
the
would-
mailbox.
I'm not gonna tell them nothing's gonna happen, it could still happen, but work with them so they can select a better location.
You gonna put that in for it?
Hmm?
You gonna put the posting for it?
No. No.
Yeah, that happened to me 3 times,
Yeah,
and I never said anything about it.
I stopped hitting it though, we cured it, gave somebody else.
One time it was because of the snow,
Yeah.
and I don't know about the other times, but you know what, I bought new brackets, I bought new mailbox, I never complained, because I know that's what happens.
Yeah, you know we don't do it on purpose.
So you start, like you said, the visibility is poor.
Lean,
But it-
you are gonna send this to John Wigan? for me?
Yes, I'm gonna actually do that, yeah.
I think we're good. I think we can let the road agent leave out of here in peace.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeff. I already, before you get in, I reviewed that your information on Old Route 13 is the same as ours.
Yes,
I did
all
put-
I had was the court case decision and the warrant article information from 63.
I did put a request in with Lean to find out, cause she said that the shed was protecting the
Yeah,
well.
that's what I heard that.
And I think that, the well is inside the shed, I thought it was maybe behind it.
And we'll do what we can to make Kelsey Road more perfect, but, I mean, it's, again, I mean, everybody has a job, everybody has a route, and, we're not doing anything that doesn't, follow our.
Well, as I said, I still go back to the Facebook comment I read at the beginning of the year. Dunbarton roads look good compared to some other towns.
Yeah, we have a lot of people give us some
It's
input
just
on
one
what
of
we
the
should be doing on
mailboxes, Rob.
Facebook.
But,
Hey, any update on Nichols, Wayne Nichols?
He is healing up, I guess, quite well, and his game plan is to get back in the saddle here before the season's over.
Oh, good.
I hope he can, but, you know.
we'll save him a few storms, okay? Tell him we'll save a few storms for him.
Oh, yeah, I told him, I said, don't do anything to re-injure yourself, but, you know, you've got a job when you're ready to go, so.
Well, that's good. Good to
Hopefully
hear.
that'll work out.
But we have an election coming up, and that's Randy's, snow day.
Yeah, exactly. Little snow on that. Hey, I've got a question, how you making out with the house on Kimball Pond Road?
Oh,
Kimball Pond.
that's on our agenda tonight, in fact, it's two-way, I'll hop to it right now.
Well, you don't have to change that.
The update on Kimball Pond Road is there was asbestos in the kitchen area.
Mhm.
The adhesive, as well as the, older, they call it tile, but it's an older linoleum, I think.
Yeah.
I did contact, Lean gave me another number today. I contacted 2 removal companies. One of them's meeting me there tomorrow at 2. So I hope to have an action item, where they get it done. One thing he did say is we just worked hard to get the power shut off.
Yep.
He did say power and water would be helpful to remove it, and I said, well, is there any chance you can do a generator and bring a tank? And he said that there is, there'll be a little additional cost, but I think it'll be better than going through the whole cycle of turning the power on and off again, so.
Yeah, I mean-
I'll try and have him go with the.
Yeah, and as you said before, it's not like they gotta preserve anything.
Right.
They can tear the place up.
Yeah, the line might be down by the time you get there,
Right.
because the meter's been disconnected, I talked to the gal that's in charge of the work orders
Okay.
for moving the line.
Yeah, I just got an invoice
Yeah.
0, I'm hoping that it stays that way.
And she was, indicating that due to weather conditions always hamper their schedule, and next week, hopefully we'll get.
So I'm hoping in the next few weeks, Jeff, I can give you the green light and we can proceed.
One thing to be aware of, and don't forget, it's gonna be right around the corner, is, road postings.
Right.
A lot of times that happens the 1st of March, depending on the season, and again, we're gonna be very diligent about that,
Okay,
so that may impact when we.
okay.
This year, could you just make sure, you coordinate with the police department too?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
they're part of our enforcement.
Yeah, they understand it's out there and stuff, so. But, again, I'll be
Thanks for coming in tonight,
Yeah, well,
Jeff.
thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Did we beat you up enough?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Whatever.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Just another day in paradise.
There you go.
All right, the next thing we have is the memorandum in reference to the travel allowance stipend for qualified town employees. Lean, one thing I had a question of after reading this, the average hours had to be 40, and they worked 36.5 hours, and they were requesting the $25 for shortage. What was the comp time there to cover? Was it anything in reference to COVID?
No,
It wasn't.
no, he actually needed some time off and, chose to use his comp time, that's how he submitted his
Yep.
time sheet for 2 weeks in a row. There were a few hours that he used.
So, how do you get comp time?
The comp time is, calculated at time and a half when you work over your 40 hours. So if you have a week that you work more than 40 hours, our policy says that you can bank up to 40 hours. And how that is formulated is you take your 2 hours of comp time times 1.5 to monitor the regular hourly rate, and then they can bank up to 40 hours that way. And it-
So, follow my thinking here and tell me if I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah,
Comp time is really replacing time you did work, so it's regular work hours. And so you put them on your time card as comp time,
mhm.
but now that you think puts you below the 40 hours for the travel allowance.
But he didn't work that week, he took hours that he worked in a different week
Right.
that he had banked, so that he can work a shorter week during that week, that he needed some time off.
Comp time doesn't make your week whole as far as a travel allowance. Travel allowance is the money you get for traveling to work every day.
Yeah.
So if you don't work that day, whether it's a sick day or comp time, you don't get travel allowance for that day, so those hours don't count towards a travel allowance.
Well, we're only looking at 3.5 hours. So that wouldn't have been a whole day's work, he still traveled to work that day. It's just a part of the day, Bob.
Right, but he didn't work 3.5 hours that day.
Right, but it has nothing to do with him traveling to work or not working that day, he did work that day. What I'm saying is comp hours are hours that somebody worked, and we provide them comp time instead of that hours of pay that time. So if you use it to balance out your week to 40, I don't think that should waive the,
But he already got paid, he got considered, even though it was full-time. If you look at how we structured it, person working 22 hours to,
Yeah, I see the hours
to
there.
27 or whatever it is, they get one set amount. Well, it's the same thing, if you work full-time and you work the 3 hours over, the 2 hours over, that's that day of traveling to work. And now you're double dipping.
I really don't see how you double dip it.
I'm just want
No, I
clarification,
understand.
because my accounting secretary understood the policy to read, take the hours worked, divide it by the number of weeks, and you have an average. If you fall below the 40, then you fall into the different category.
That was just for 1 week?
There was 2 weeks that he missed a couple of hours. So it averaged out to be 36
0.5 hours.
for that month.
I just don't know how anybody that's allowed comp time, that's a regular 40-hour week employee, can use their comp time and not get cut from this, doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, 'cause
You have to be able to use your comp time.
Well, the comp time is time that you work for your overtime.
Right,
But
which we
you work
chose
the
as a
overtime
town,
on a different, you worked it on a different week.
right, which we chose as a town not to pay them that. We allow them the ability to bank those hours.
To bank the hours, to use it for hours off. It's not hours worked.
He worked the hours.
Well, you know, it's okay, because down the line, if something's audited, it goes before the Internal Revenue, then you're violating your travel allowance.
I don't see. where
I've been through this before, so
I
it
just
isn't the
need,
first
I
time.
have to need clarification, because the way it reads, and this is the reason why I brought it for you, it says for hours worked, and that's, I need
Can we send-
clarification.
It's like taking vacation hours too, you mean, let's say you took vacation hours, and let's take the word vacation hours and insert that in there. He didn't come to work those vacation hours either.
Yeah, it would bring his average down lower for that month, therefore he would fall into the lower category.
I can understand the vacation time easy enough, the comp time is what I'm having an issue with, because you did work those hours at one point in time, and we chose as a town not to pay you for them.
No,
No.
you chose, the employee chose not to get money for it that
Right.
time. And so what the employee does now,
He carries the time over for time off on another week. It's not work hours time, it's time that they're taking off from work.
it's like mini vacation hours. Similar to vacation hours,
Yeah, additional.
additional vacation hours.
So if they use that 40 hours, all of that 40-hour comp time, and they can still get travel pay?
I think that's what Bob's alluding to.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, you know, Dave.
But they worked it as overtime in another period of time.
Another period of time.
You know, if
So
you work,
if they
it's not.
saved it up for 40 hours and then they cashed it in, they get their travel pay too.
I agree with the term devil's living a little bit, what Bob said, you know, the way to eliminate this completely, no comp time. You take your hours, you get your work, and you get no comp time for it. And that's why you could eliminate it all, but that's down the road.
And it's a choice they have when they were making that decision.
Right, we left them decision, you can either take overtime, or you get comp time. But then they use comp time to raise your eligibility for more pay, it's kind of like defeating the purpose.
I'm not trying to give somebody, make it difficult for somebody, but you have, a policy that addresses people showing up for work every day and working their schedule, which sometimes he has to work overtime, and you can't go and bank hours and then take them off on another day when you only work part of the day and expect that week you're gonna have all your hours. And then, you know, again, you could accumulate the 40 hours.
It's 40 hours
It's all-
or
it's
more,
all
so it
cost-
doesn't, it is 40 hours or more, so it doesn't matter if you work overtime on one week.
Right.
you can work next week.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is it doesn't make a difference that week, because that week he's gonna get credit. If you got 42 and a half hours, or 43 hours, or whatever, that's what he's getting credit for on that week. Now, that gets carried over.
I
You
guess,
follow me? If he's working the other week and he takes, let's say, 4 hours off
Yeah.
that he accumulated,
yeah,
but those hours that he worked that week probably carried over, so he's really still coming out short on that end.
So, if they take a vacation day out of the week,
it will lower their average for the month.
so you get somebody like, I don't know, Woody's got, what, 4 or 5 weeks?
Pete, yeah, Pete takes days all the time,
Right, so if you took a day every week, you'd never hit your
40 hours,
40 hours.
yeah.
You know, 'cause somebody like him's been, you know, he's been here a long time, so he's got a lot of vacation time too. So between vacation and comp.
Right, but that's a choice he can make. I mean, he can take a whole week off at a time, or take a day, long weekends, and it's up to him. But if he takes long, if he shortens his work week, he's gonna not be eligible for this other pay in the subject. And the whole purpose of this pay, was to get people really on the part-timers, really to get them to want to come to work, rather than getting out of bed and saying, I'm feeling terrible today. No, I want you to come to work, because we need you today at work. It was an incentive to get them to come to work, part of it, and to help them offset some of the travel expenses.
When you look at the pay scale for that job, they're right in a pay scale that they are making, that's sometimes a little better than other places, but they're in that pay scale. So we wanted to attract someone and keep them there. And so rather than playing a game with the pay and taking away the 1 or 2%, which is what Woody had suggested, take away the 2% and readjust their pay scale, we developed this, and it would have been it's tax-free for them. And they're able to use this as an incentive to stay there. And from the people we talked to that are getting this, they're happy with it.
Now, another question for you, so somebody's gonna week, 40-hour week, regular week, and one sick day in that week. When you look at their time schedule, it's gonna show 40 hours in there, cause they put one sick day, which they're allowed.
Right, but the sick day doesn't come under travel allowance, they lose that
It's a
day.
different code completely, the way we calculate the average hours worked is through the RGH one, which is for regular work hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose, it's actually in the job working.
Yeah.
That was the, they said, we wanted
Do
to
you
make,
think you could put an email together for us to review before we send it back to Woody to make sure it's worded correctly? I hate to respond to an employee and respond incorrectly, I'd like for all three selectmen to review it, and then we'll make a decision next week to send it to the
Okay.
employee, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't wanna write something up quick and have it not worded quite correctly.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of a gray area, and I wanna make sure
In
it's
this
clear.
area, I think it's, I think the fact that employees ask about it, I salute him.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's our job to make it some granularity here and make it clear.
No, and
So
I
we
can see where he thought comp time might be included, but maybe vacation's not. So we should probably state comp time, vacation time, sick time, and all those other things do not conclude.
but if you look at the scale we have, just because he's full-time, if he goes over that week on his full-time,
He doesn't-
he's in the same boat that the
Yeah.
guy that worked 19 hours
Yep,
is, or 22 hours, you know how they work
Yeah.
to the next level? He's in
He's at
that
the top.
same,
He's at
he's
the
in
top.
that same, right?
Right, but this has been going on since you adopted, what, May that we started this? And I've gone through two different administrators in that position, and this particular individual is very conscientious in understanding our policies and procedures.
Yeah.
And so she's read this, and, this was her interpretation, she's got a master's in accounting. I didn't wanna second guess her decision, and.
What did she
request-
did she agree with the board?
She is actually had approached me and said, I believe that he falls into the lower category because of his not working based on that
so let's
description.
get a proper letter written up so that we can, cause it won't be just him, it'll be other people who actually.
It's
have
not
things.
trying to deny him the $25, that's not the case, it's that you have, it's an agreement with them.
Right, well, I always wanna do it the proper way all the time, so.
And you wanna stay within that confines of what we've decided to do.
Once we develop that letter, we should attach it to the policy, so another employee asks, we can send it to
No,
them.
and the thing is, and we've given them, employees have the flexibility, overtime or comp time. But they can't go ahead and turn around and use comp time like working hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the part-timers fall into a different category, they don't have comp time, they don't
Right.
have seldom have,
Right,
overtime.
and so this really only affects the one employee, and the thing is, he's trying to make it work for him, and he's looking at, it, maybe we weren't as clear as we could be, now we can make it more clear, some granularity, that's
Yeah,
all.
I can see where there's some confusion, I would have, so I guess.
Okay,
Okay, going on to the next thing, dropping down. I think Bob got a formal or call about this. We have one resident at least that's disappointed with our protocols on the Board of Selectmen's, decision on how we're holding our town meeting this year. He wanted some sort of drive-by voting or absentee ballot voting. Some of that is available to him, and I think that we'll have the moderator speak to him, I think that's what Bob had said to him. So
it's,
just,
you know, like, the thing is, we have absentee voting, we
Yeah.
have drive-by to a certain degree, it works out with the town moderator. The only thing that we are accommodating right now is that town meeting, we gotta be at town meeting vote. Because there's issues that are gonna be debated, you gotta be able to listen and vote.
and you gotta be able to verify the voter is a resident.
I don't think he realized that he could have gotten an absentee, so I told him that he could contact Linda and let him know that he can't go out to vote, he'd like to get an absentee ballot. I'm reading on this part, which he didn't mention that to me, but it said limited access to electronic voting during the Zoom broadcast. There's not a Zoom broadcast, I think,
They've chosen not.
when he talks to Rainey, that's why I directed him to talk to Rainey, because the moderator sets up what happens at the town meeting, and so, Rainey decided against the Zoom meeting, because it would be problematic, and the voting, you had to come in to get your thing, your check, supervisor the checklist. So, this isn't electronic voting, wouldn't work for him, even in the Zoom process. However, even we're not using the Zoom process anyhow.
Correct.
So I think he'll get a little more clarity from Randy.
Well, he'll be able to meet halfway there, at least he'll be able to vote that day,
Yeah.
in the election. Okay, town forest,
Yeah, which I think was,
should I jump here again?
the reason I brought this up is Ron Jarvis asked me if I had brought this to you guys. He sent me this email, probably a month and a half ago. And what we had asked him for last year and the year before actually, was to give us an overall, budget of what he thinks he'd need to maintain those fields, the conservation area, the Thought property up at the top of Gore Pond, that they've taken over. There used to be a line item, Lean, I think
Years ago,
of
yeah.
$800 per year. And so I asked him to give us some of the costs that he's been doing on there. And maybe we could come up with a line item on our budget that helps them take care of it, because their fund is not gonna last forever on that property. And it used to be a line item until some select board decided to cancel it. And if you look at the pages down through on the third page, if we set up a balance, you know, like this year, they're spending a lot of money to finish up the fertilizer they already did on that field. But if you look at 2023, 2024, 2025, you know, the maintenance cost goes down. And so, what I'd like to look at, and give the board some time to think about it, is I'm thinking we wanna develop, you know, $500 to $800 a year to keep in this, maintenance of that conservation area, that the town actually helps them out, and then they can use their funds to wrap up some of their other needs on that property, and they're not all spent maintaining those fields at the top. So I asked him for this, he finally got around to it, and then he asked me, if I had brought it in front of the board. What I'd like to do is review this and maybe make a decision in the next couple of weeks, and maybe, add it as part of our budget, and make it a line item.
Next year,
Yeah,
What you could do is put a dollar in that position,
Right.
because there's a deleted account
Yep.
in my system, I have to undelete it.
and that's what I told him, this is kind of a process to get it back in the works, and I told him to provide this information for us. So we can look at a yearly cost, that's something
but for
reasonable.
this year, for this current budget, we're OBE.
That's right.
Okay. So for next year, we.
In this current budget, they've covered their expenses so
Right,
far.
right, so the thing is, they got some money that will last, but might as well
Yes.
start it early next year, get it going.
And that's what I'd like to do, like Lean said, we can put a dollar in there this year to hold the line item, and then look at it. So this is more food for thought, and, I asked him to come in and speak to us about it, and, that's what I thought he was gonna do. He asked if I could bring it, to the board's attention, so that's, I guess, what I'm doing.
Well, I have no problem with
I don't either.
Yeah, so, I figured if we get it back in the process, go ahead, Leo.
Would that go into their fund, or would that be just something,
No.
you have to have some type of a fund for it?
I think it will stay in ours,
Yeah,
because we, in our budget, we'll have a line item of 800, if it doesn't get used, it stays in our general budget.
Okay,
And each year it'll go back to the voters,
okay, I just was wondering how that was gonna work.
yeah, and you know they have funds right
Yeah.
now.
and that's why I'm not worried about their expenses this current year, because they've already budgeted for that.
Yeah.
But I know it's not gonna last, they've done the harvest of the forest there,
Right.
and so it'll take several years before they can do another harvest.
You know, several years, that may used to be plenty for several years.
Right. So,
We may not have to do anything but hold it at a dollar, so if we need it, we can.
and you can remember on this same property, the barn, cellar hole wasn't part of their maintenance agreement, so Donna Dunn's been paying for that as well, so it's, you know, there's a lot of money being spent up there, and the town isn't really, you know, the town used to have an expense for that field to maintain it, and then some
I
selectmen
did
took it out.
provide you the deed,
Yeah,
so it gives you all the requirements of what they're
right,
expected of us for.
yeah, I think you had given that to us before too,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. Okay, so that's more of a thing that, like, we'll put a placeholder in there, but I think if we read it and then decide to do the placeholder, Lean can find where it used to be.
I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, great. Just kind of a work in progress. All right, now we're down to a lot of signatures here. This is to sign the, MS 636 proposed budget for the town of Dunbarton and the warrant, which we worked on last week.
I've asked the board to sign 3 copies, because I have to send an original to the Department of Revenue, an original to the town clerk, and then I have an original for my file. Everything else gets scanned and copied.
And these are in here for review. Lean and I reviewed them this week. We found an issue in one spot and we cleaned that up. I'll give you one pack, Mike. And, then I'll give Bob the other one and we'll swap them back and forth, okay? Let me know if you see anything I missed on there. There's 2 signatures on the last page, so.
Yeah, top and bottom.
There you go, Bob. You good with yours, Mike? My pen ran out of ink.
Oh, you did for real?
Yeah. There you go, Mike.
Okay, so that's this one. David?
Okay, thank you, sir. This one's got a little more easy after. I'm never gonna hit your quickest meeting, Mike.
Just think of it as a goal, so
Yeah.
an unattainable goal.
I thought I was gonna hit this week and she put like 17 more items on my agenda.
I got the call right all this week.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you call, you get more stuff thrown at you. Okay, Bob, you missed, I got one you missed on.
Yeah, we just noticed on that one.
Another one, that's one you missed.
Do I get all the time?
You 3.
This is 2.
I'll fall asleep back
Oh,
there.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you guys approve last week's minutes?
Yeah, right in the beginning.
Oh, I must have been asleep.
You were
Bob
dozing
made
off.
the motion, Mike seconded it.
I didn't hear it.
That's all right, Leo.
It's on the tape, it's on the tape.
Okay, well, we're finishing up them signatures. I'm gonna go over a couple of mailbox items. We have an update of this month's solar usage, for the town of Dunbarton on our solar panels.
I can sum that up for you. We're making more electricity than we're paying for the lease, so it's a net positive for the town, just leasing it. Not by much, but by a few dollars.
We offset our carbon by 3.03 tons, and we saved 78 trees.
I'm burning them.
Here, we have another update from Dana Lavoie as far as there's a software update on the panels out there, on the main circuit breaker, and there's gonna be some work parts and labor out there that they're gonna be doing on the panels.
He said something to the effect that Woody, is gonna be informed, but he doesn't have to be there per se.
It's only affecting one of the 160 panels there.
That's what's great about the individual panel monitoring.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful thing.
The next thing is a letter from HughesNet Resource. For your website that I sent over a few days ago.
Dave, I think that's,
Lean,
that is a piece of garbage junk mail.
it is.
It's soliciting.
We're not
their
using
business.
HughesNet, right?
We don't, no, so I can tell her that we'll,
Yeah, I think that's the same one I get at my house, right?
well, she's been sending me them like weekly, so,
You have our permission to circulate file up.
okay.
You guys, please refrain, you can say that email, please take me off your mailing
That's
list.
what you're doing at
Yeah.
home too.
Okay, we have an email here from Holly Zeller. Mrs. Zeller became the owner of the property on the Class 6 section of Everett Road, and it looks like Brett St. Clair is working with her.
Well, she asked me to reach out to the town officials, and then, once I sent it to the two commissions for conservation and town forest, I thought it'd be helpful to show.
Three are still labeled Zeller,
Yeah, they're all her agents, her mother transferred them to her.
so her sister has one and she has two.
No, she's got all three.
Okay,
And just as an aside, the abutter was considering developing that, and, the properties are reasonably priced, but the issue is, if to develop the properties, you have to develop the road. The roads are more pricey than the lots. And that was a long pole in the tent.
But I just put it in your basket, because the town's always looking for properties in the
Yeah.
center here that we could potentially use for future expansion of government. And where those are, abutting another parcel that we were given during a subdivision, I wasn't sure.
It's relatively centrally located too, in
Yeah.
the village district.
yeah, it is, some of the lower lots there are pretty wet, but, I'll reach out with Brett too and see what his thoughts are on it, get back to the board. Okay. Woody gave us an update from the transfer station. Couple of things to go over this week, the recycling markets are starting to improve. He's had some phone issues out there, and he's gonna check with the phone company to get that squared away. He states that he received his first COVID shot. He had somebody down there videotaping at the transfer station, wanted to make us aware of it as a board. When they went over to see the person took off into the woods on foot. He just wanted to make us aware of it. I don't think they were trying to stop him, they were probably just trying to ask him what he was doing, but as Bob says, they have the right to be able to videotape down there, so.
Yeah, the classic case was the one in Manchester, former alderman.
Yep.
I won't use his name, because you probably have heard of him, but he started videotaping the guys that were doing the picking up trash.
Yep.
And following the trucks and going in front of houses and videotaping them. And so the city took an action against him. He took it to court and he won in court, because as long as he's not in anybody's way and as long as he's not impeding anything, he has the right to do what he wants.
Should I give some information to Woody about that?
You might wanna let him know that that happened in Manchester, actually.
So, the
Let him know as long as the person is not blocking the flow of traffic or interrupting his employees. If somebody wants
If he's not in a way, there's not much you can do, but if he is in a way, you can tell him that he's,
So I would call the police at that point,
you know.
let them handle it, that's why we have them there.
One way from different doors.
It isn't much different than having someone in here taking our meeting, public land.
Well, not everybody is as good as Leo wants to stay there the whole time.
Somebody chase
I don't know, there's a lot of garbage on mine too.
Oh, and just for the record, I ran by, I saw Ryan this week, he said he got his license.
Oh, we did?
You know?
I thought he'd get his license.
Oh, yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
That's a good note. And so he's working on a vehicle now.
I think he already has one.
Yeah, they're working on it. It needs some work, he says.
Okay.
Okay, we have a Attorney General notice here, from election officials. General election, it looks like they were, giving us a list of our polling results. And it just shows the checkoff that they do when they come in to do our polling results. And it looks like we had, I believe we had everything passed the way we already saw this. We reviewed and disposed of pencils, everything was noted.
Linda provided that with me, this today.
Said there was a little difficult to hear in there, but they were able to observe the checklist. I don't see any other. Says that they were hand counting on it, that was the only thing that was,
Could I recommend we give a copy, courtesy copy to the town moderator?
sure. I would imagine Linda already did that.
I'm sure she did, it came from her office.
So we all see these guys come in from the state when we're working the polls, and it's actually good to see the report. That's the first time I've seen one. And the last thing we have in here is Lean did put out, the town administrator just put an advertising for employment opportunity for an accounting secretary position in our town office here. It's a part-time position, but she has listed it with NHMA, Indeed, the town website, and the elementary school administrative office. Thank you, Lean, for getting that done.
I already got 2 responses from the Indeed,
Nice.
so hoping that I will get, a few resumes that I can review and then reach out to one of you to sit in on some interviews.
Okay. All right, that sounds great. I'm gonna bring it to the town administrator. You have anything else for us, Lean?
Oh, no, I do have one thing. The town report is finalized and in the printer's hands. I got confirmation today that I should have it approved tomorrow. I will go over it one last time, and if there's any minimal changes, there will be some charges for it, but it shouldn't be a lot, because I've had a few people look at it and we've caught a lot of the,
I thought you'd like the cover.
I can still change it if you want me.
No, I caught it too. I was like, didn't Mike pick the other one?
Well, you know, when the chairman speaks, I listen, so he said, I like this picture, but.
Either way was fine to me too.
Be honest with you, when you look at the odd picture,
Yeah,
what is it on?
I know.
You don't really know what it is.
I
You'd
can
have to
take
study
it
it.
if you want. I can put that third one back on there.
You want to put the third one on? Bob, did you see
Be
it?
I
consistent.
didn't see it.
It's,
It has the cremation garden down in the lower right, because I had asked her to do an option with that one, but she hadn't printed it for us. But then I think during the meeting, we said to just leave it the way it was with the space between them, but have the trees shown out here, but. So right now, it has the cremation gardens, it has the front of the town hall is the big picture, it has a gazebo here on the left.
Okay.
but
So-
you don't even know what, if you're not familiar with the cemetery, you say, what's this a picture of?
Yeah.
It's
It-
what
Although
they
Dawn-
foliage.
Dawn would probably like it. So to me, if it's already there, I wouldn't change it, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
Nobody does.
I'd probably be the tiebreaker.
You can't put a sign on the cremains garden that says for sale?
Believe me, he would if he could. He probably don't wanna sell us $4.
I really think the only thing I would add is maybe a word, cremate, or cemetery cremains garden underneath it, so you know what it is. Because if you look at it, you say, I know what the Christmas tree is, I know what the library is, but what the heck is these little things in the ground?
Yeah, I don't think we wanna start.
It looks like a garden, you grown people or something.
It looks, what did you just say?
I don't think we should put writing on the front of the
I
cover.
don't think so either.
Just a little fine print underneath it.
On the backside maybe, but
Okay.
identifying what the pictures are.
Yeah, and I have no, whether you wanna change it or not, has no bother to me.
Oh, I know, but I don't wanna incur unneeded expense unless Bob, really thinks it's bad.
Whole set.
Okay, we'll leave it like it is. All right, bringing, Leo, public comment, okay, great. Bring it back to the board, Bob.
Yeah, I didn't get any complaints on Kelsey Road this year.
All All right, thanks, well, anything for you, Mike?
The police chief's family issues are still alive, in the sense that, he's got more appointments this week. He's, as I said, he's delegated another one to be an on-call, officer as needed.
Yep.
So he may be out of the picture for a day here and there, but he's got it well covered. And the sergeant is really stepping up to the plate.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and I thought Chris was gonna come in tonight, but, Lean did say Chris won't be available on the 25th, but he will watch the meeting minutes. And after we make some sort of decision on the old Route 13, we'll give him a copy of it.
He also said that he would provide you with what they have in their department.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that it could be discussed during that.
I did ask him if they had any, complaints or parking complaints or any of that, just so we know.
And on that again, is it prudent, I mean, we have a decision made by the select board, it went to court, and it was validated in court. Do we need to get a legal opinion on that, or we just let it sit where it is for now?
I think we saw the legal opinion that the court already made, so,
It's not an
You know-
opinion, that's a judgment it was made.
right, so my thought was, we can either reaffirm the previous select board's, decision, but there are a couple of things I noticed on there, like, if you look at the layout of the road, it shows it's starting at the backside of that house there. Well, their new maps don't show that, they show the class 6 road starting right at the corner of Holmes Road. So they either need to correct their maps, so when somebody does buy that property, because it's for sale, and or we wanna make sure that when they sell that property, the new people realize that it is a, class 6 town road, that there can't be obstructions within that road, so.
Right.
We should look at it as a board, I think, and just review those, because it's obvious there have been obstructions in the road after the last board made their decision, and the police department need to have direction when they go up there, what they're gonna do about that. So I think as a board, we need to kind of reaffirm or relook at that.
And I thought the facts presented by one of the attorneys for the, opposing side was really, not very supportive of her case.
Yeah.
So, well, I should be interested in discussion when they come up, I
Yeah.
look forward to it, so we can make some clarity for it,
So I
hopefully.
just wanna make sure we read the whole packages thoroughly.
You received them in a current, recent email.
Yeah, and I forgot, and I asked Lean if the police department had anything to add as far as vehicles parked or complaints, that we could have that to look at.
I mean, it's funny that, we've got pictures already submitted to us with vehicles parked there
Yeah.
consistently.
And I went up and saw the vehicle there, and I spoke with Jeff, he swung in and saw the same skid steer parked there, so I'd like if you two could stop by there.
I was gonna- I did already this week.
So if, she speaks about occasional parking, and not to get into it too much this week, but it looks like more than occasional parking.
Yeah. There's a difference to parking somewhat out of the way and being right there in the
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of latitude to park, off to the side, a lot of latitude there.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
well,
gonna
that should be
call for
interesting
adjourning the
discussion.
meeting at 8:23.
motion to adjourn, yeah.
Motion to adjourn, second.